for all the latest community news and events.
103.2 Preston FM.
Your community, your radio.
So I'm talking with Nate from BoardGameHour. Good morning, Nate. How are you doing?
Good morning, Millie. Really glad to be on your wonderful show. Thanks for inviting me on.
You're welcome. It's always good when guests kind of praise you and make you feel good.
That's what you asked me to come on for, wasn't it? You in the message you sent?
Yeah, just direct sort of plugging people and making everybody just boost my ego, really. That's it.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm here for you.
Thanks. No, really, we're going to talk about... because last Monday, I was going down to one of the local events called Preston Geek Up, and as I left the house, I spotted it on Twitter, BoardGameHour, the hashtag BoardGameHour, and it was a horrible, inconvenient clash of things. I couldn't go to an event and be somewhere, then also sit on Twitter and participate in an hour, so I decided I'd give you a bit of a poke via Twitter, and we'd find out a little bit more about BoardGameHour, and then everybody who listens to GeekON can come down to BoardGameHour on Twitter and join in. So tell us all about BoardGameHour.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And hopefully that's one of the reasons the hashtag is so popular, is because people do just sort of pick it up in their feeds and then check it out when they find convenient time to do so. Basically, BoardGameHour I started about 6 months ago because I was looking for a community online, preferably on Twitter, just to talk about board games. I'm really into board games, have been for a long time. And there are lots of things. I mean, I don't know. Sorry about my coughing. I don't know whether you have any up where you're from, but I'm from Cornwall, and in and around this area we have things like Devon Hour and Cornwall Hour.
Yeah, there's Preston Hour and Lancashire Hour and Northwest Hour. Yeah,
there you go. So basically, I was a few months ago thinking, there's bound to be a board game one, because it's such a thriving internet community and real life community, that someone's bound to have started something like this. So I'll just have a look for it and I'll drop in, just to talk about what I'm interested in, in board games. So I spent a good week looking for this event that didn't exist. So I basically decided to start it, thinking that I'd probably get 10 people occasionally sort of do it, and it would sort of take ages to build up and possibly wouldn't even happen. And from about week 2, we were trending across America and Europe.
Yeah, I've spotted on when you go to at BoardGameHour, you haven't just got the times in GMT. You've also got like Pacific, and it's like 2:00 in the afternoon somewhere, and 4 p.m. It really is like a global hour, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, there's probably more Americans that take part than there are Europeans, but that's only because there are more Americans that play board games than there are Europeans, I think. So it really is international. We at the end of the board game hour, we quite often get a couple of Australians drop in, because in Australia it's sort of 4:00 in the morning, 5:00 in the morning when board game hour starts. I mean, when I started up, I intended to have it so that most, the Western world was basically awake. So it's 7 p.m. GMT for us, which means it's 2 p.m. Eastern time, so in New York, all the way across to 10 a.m. for LA and Los Angeles and places like that. And then, obviously as you go east across Europe, they get later into the night. But if I'd have had it so that it was a sensible, like after work in America, it would have been ridiculously late here. So
it's a bit refreshing to have something at the right time for us. I was tempted to tune in. You could watch the live red carpet for Captain America, and I had to stay up till 2 a.m. So I was like, no.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, I think it would probably be perfectly successful if it was 7:00 Eastern time and America had finished work, but Europe wouldn't be able to join in. And it's really interesting having the lots of different perspectives on things. And there's lots of people that talk that go to Essen, which is the biggest games fair in Europe.
Yeah.
And lots of the Americans go to Gen Con, and so our topic on Monday is about games conventions. So it's going to be really interesting to see that cross-population between the two different groups of people. I'm going to the UK Games Expo in May, so it'd be interesting to see what the Americans' tips and hints and interesting things about expos and cons are compared to Europeans, and it's just a really interesting hour. And I think people have asked for it to be longer and more often, each day and things like that. But I think actually the beauty of it is that just for an hour each week, you go on there and there's a particular topic. And it's always about board games, obviously, because it's BoardGameHour.
Yep.
And you get to blast on Twitter for an hour, and then it's done, and you carry on with your life.
You can get back to the board games.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Back to whatever round of Arkham that's taking about 7 days to play with all its individual.
On your Facebook page, like Arkham Horror. It's a big game.
It is, yes.
Yeah.
When we first bought Arkham Horror, we weren't quite aware of how many extra little tubs and boxes you need for all the bits and pieces.
And that's without all the expansions, I would imagine.
Yeah, we haven't gone that far. We've only won once.
I have about 4 or 5 of the expansions, and I've never played with all of them at the same time because I would have to get a new job or something, one that involved me not working to be able to play it. But yeah, no, it's a game that I got one of my friends into board gaming through. And then, unfortunately, he decided it was a good game to get other people into board gaming and completely turned some of his friends off of board gaming by going, yeah, come and play this really fun game that only takes 4 hours just to set up.
Yeah.
Yeah, never mind.
But that's not what all... I mean, there's some brilliant ones, and one of our favourite ones in my house is Carcassonne.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Do you play with the 3-tile variant?
No, I play with my 6-year-old daughter. So we keep it as simple as possible, but she is vicious with her farmers. Yeah,
Carcassonne's brilliant. I like all range of games. I quite happily play a sort of really light game that takes half an hour, or all the way up to big heavy games. That's one of the beautiful things about board games, other than the fact that they're social interaction, is that there's just so much out there, and it's so well produced and so much fun that I really sort of think if people are into any form of geekdom at all, then they just need to sort of come onto BoardGameHour and go, right, what's a good gateway game? Like, I've never played any games before, what should I play? Like something like Carcassonne would be perfect.
One of the kind of big sort of boosts in getting my friends into more board games was Will Wheaton and his tabletop on YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Geek and Sundry is an awesome channel, and Tabletop has just been phenomenal for just introducing people to board games and showing them how much fun it can be. It's ace. It
has been brilliant with just my non-geeky friends, just sending them a link to watch Quirkle, watch this really easy sort of quick game, and we'll play that in a couple of weeks, and they'll go, like, oh, okay, it's not that strange.
Yeah, I mean, getting to see actually someone that they might recognise play something that actually they can see how much fun they're having. I mean, there's no way that sort of Tabletop is a staged event, is it? They do genuinely just sort of film people playing board games, and they just have such great fun with it. It's
brilliant. I do enjoy it. And you've got a little bit of a kind of exciting thing with Geek and Sundry coming up, haven't you?
I have. I mean, it's been a bit of a phenomenal ride, really. Starting this 6 months ago, and having no aspirations for it to sort of be big or interesting, it's been trending across the world every week. Geek and Sundry quite often chip in on BoardGameHour, and so do some publishers. Some board game publishers have done exclusives and things like that, but Geek and Sundry contacted me a couple of weeks ago on Twitter, much like you did. So it's obviously all the big boys have been contacting me, and they basically sort of asked me if they could do a Geek and Sundry takeover for Tabletop Day, which is on the 5th of April.
5th of April, yeah.
Yeah, and so on the 31st of March, Geek and Sundry and Tabletop are taking over BoardGameHour for the evening, which will be interesting. They're going to co-host. They've got some big board game publishers lined up to come and sort of join in as well, which I can't announce who they are at the moment.
No, don't. That's...
because I need to let them do that, because they're the awesome channel. But yeah, no, it's insanely exciting that they're going to really get involved. I mean, they've got 100,000 followers on Twitter.
I know. And they've got Felicia Day behind the keyboard. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. I'm hoping, and I'm not sure whether they'll actually pull it off, but I'm hoping they'll get Will Wheaton to join in, because they haven't. They've said that they might have a special guest lined up, but they haven't they haven't promised anything, and I think I might, just as it's getting closer, I might put a little bit of pressure on them to say, come on, get Will Wheaton to join in. It's only for an hour. It's really good. I think it's going to be interesting for everyone as well, because obviously it's on the 31st, so it's a few days before Tabletop Day, just to try and encourage everyone to join in with Tabletop Day, because that's a really good idea as well. So.
It's awesome, Tabletop. Have you got something planned?
I think I'm just going to go to my local game shop and play there. I had been talking to some people from Wales. I mean, one of the interesting things about Twitter is that there's so many people I'm connecting with from all over the world, and there's a there's a friendly local game shop in Cardiff, and lots of the people who go there have been sort of messaging backwards and forth and saying, come up to Cardiff. And frankly, if I didn't live quite so far away, I would probably do that. But yeah, I think just my local shop for the day.
Oh, it sounds exactly like what we're going to do. We've been talking to our local comic book shop. They are going to put on a tabletop day. I was a bit amazed that they hadn't actually heard of it. I was like breaking the news in Preston. But it was, yeah. So Geek and Sundry are going to take over on the 31st of March. That's from 7 p.m. GMT.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 7 o'clock for us until 8 o'clock. And they've got a load of questions that they're going to ask, and they're really good at interacting with people as well. And during BoardGameHour, they'll ask questions and they'll get back to people. And frankly, if you get a retweet from Geek and Sundry, it will give you about 30 followers just off of the retweet. So it's definitely worth getting involved. And I think the publishers that they've told me that they've got are going to be interesting as well. So, and obviously it's it's about interacting with each other as well. It's about just board gamers of different experiences talking to each other. I mean, one of the really enjoyable things about BoardGameHour is that there's quite a lot of people that come on that have only just started getting into the hobby, that only have a couple of games and they want to know where they should go next. And there's people all the way up to the hardcore gamers who've got 400 games in their collection and have been playing for years. And if anyone's ever got a question, there's always people there to answer it, and that's the really good thing about it. And it doesn't matter how sophisticated the question is, because there's always someone of a similar sort of level, or a level that can answer it. So it's good. It's good fun.
It is. I've been reading back. It is very good fun. I wanna ask you the obvious question. What is your? It's a rainy power cut Thursday, and you've got nothing else to do other than play board games. What's your first one?
Right. That depends quite heavily on who it's with, because my favourite board game is a board game called Spartacus, which is based off of the TV license, the slightly dodgy adult.
Oh yeah, I've watched that, completely amazed at the acting, obviously.
Yeah, the oiled up acting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's a game entirely based on that, and obviously a lot of board games that are based on movies or TV products are quite bad, but this one's actually pretty awesome. But it's incredibly backstabby, and it's very sort of screw your neighbour, which means that last time I played it, it got quite uncomfortable with my game group. Where everyone's like, I don't want to mess anyone up. It's like, well, I'm sorry, that's what the game's about. So it would be that if I could guarantee that everyone was going to be grown up about it. And if not, I would go, I think, with Seasons at the moment, which is a game basically to do with rolling dice and being a magic user and creating creatures, and it's very very family friendly and very light, and it plays in an hour, and it's really interesting. It's a good fun light game. So I think I would pull that one out first, and then if everyone survives, I'd go for Spartacus. Oh,
cool. We partook in the Battlestar Galactica game.
That's brilliant.
It's a
brilliant.
really good game. It's absolutely. And then you get there was one epic game session where we dealt the cards wrong and no one was a Cylon.
And we spent. See, I've done a very similar thing, but halfway through the game, for your listeners, from the start of the game until halfway through the game, there might not be a Cylon, so there might be no one that's a bad guy. But from halfway through until the end of the game, there's at least guaranteed one Cylon, isn't it? If you do it right.
If you do it right, we didn't. There was still the tension there anyway.
Or did you win?
We started accusing each other of being Cylons, and there was a bit of a table flip moment, and then it was like, well, we'll prove it, and we did, and it was like, oops.
Oh dear.
And yeah, we haven't played with particular people Battlestar Galactica since, just because of the epic kind of incorrectness.
It's always good. I did a sort of opposite thing where I put too many Cylon cards in. So we were playing a 4-player game and 3 of us were Cylons. And we still almost didn't win because we were too busy pretending to be human. That we still it came down to the last sort of turn of the game, so which is a sign of a good game, obviously. But,
yeah.
So yeah, I love Battlestar Galactica. You need the right players, though, and that's one of the good things with BoardGameHour is because there's such a breadth of different people there, you can find people that have similar taste to you, because if you take Battlestar Galactica into the wrong group, you just won't have a very good time, because it's all about social interaction.
It is, yeah.
But in the right group, it's just a perfect evening for me. And basically, the choice isn't really should I play board games, because there's going to be a board game that sort of everyone will love. There will definitely be a board game for everyone. It's just finding that game, and then once you find the game that you like, there's lots of games that are similar to that you can build on that take the next step. There's the thing which is called the scaffolding of learning. I think I've probably said that wrong, but it's to do with, you need concepts that you understand, and then you can add a new concept to it. But if you add more than one new concept, it becomes overwhelming and it's not much fun. So having people that can advise you, like, right, if you like Battlestar Galactica, I mean, to be fair, there isn't very far to go from there, because that's quite top end.
Yeah.
If you've tried it and it's sort of failed because everyone found it a bit overwhelming, there may be something like The Resistance. Maybe
I was just going to talk about The Resistance. Yeah, that was one of the first games we kind of played. We played it round one, and we were just kind of la la la, and then the next kind of time we played it, we were like, no, we actually need to bluff and bluster and bit of banter going on.
Yeah, it's again the social interaction, isn't it? It's one of the keys with board games. But even having said that, if there's people out there that are not into bluster and not into heavy social interaction, there are a lot of Euro games out there that are all to do with resource management and being efficient, and and there's one of the guys in my group that just loves that sort of game, and he enjoys social interaction as well. But if you give him a little puzzle that takes 2 hours worth of management skills, he loves it, and I prefer the social interaction myself. But there are games that accommodate all sorts. So
Pandemic is our kind of please everybody game.
Okay. How do you get past the alpha gamer problem, which is the sort of a single player coming up with a strategy and then making everyone else play the way they want to?
Mostly we tell my husband to shut up, because that's him. We have to remember that constant reminders that this is my turn to do the things, and I think we're going to do this. But it seems to be the one where we'll work generally as a team and nobody will fall out, and we will genuinely get down to that last 5 cards of what's going to happen, don't be an outbreak. I
have to say that sort of cooperative games are one of my favourite types of games. So I do like conflict in games, but I also really love the sort of let's all pull together. So one of my favourites at the moment is Sentinels of the Multiverse. Have you heard of that? I've
heard of it. I haven't had a chance to kind of do much more than look at it.
Yeah, it's a co-op superhero game. So, instead of stopping the world from getting viruses like you do in Pandemic, it's a game where you each have your own pack of cards, and you pick a bad guy and you pick an environment. So you'll be in a city or you'll be on a Mars base. So, it's all the classic sort of superhero settings and superhero bad guys and things like that. And it's a co-op game, but it removes some of the alpha gamer issues because only you can see your cards. So you don't share that information with people, so they can't be as much badgering as long as you don't sort of let everyone look at your hand or whatever. But that's pretty cool as well. So I take on the role of alpha gamer quite often, so I have to really hold myself back. So I like co-op games where I can't do that.
One of the biggest tantrums we've created is playing Descent, which is one of those ones that merges role-playing and board games into one. And we've regularly fallen out with the person who is the overlord for winning.
Really?
Yes, when the overlord wins, it can't ever actually be really the overlord wins. It must be that they've cheated, and that we regularly fall out. And that
do you do your own little cutscene at the end just to sort of explain how it wasn't really a victory, and that the overlord ran away to make the second episode coming or something?
No, we're normally too busy bickering, to be honest.
I've never actually played Descent because it's one of those games where I keep wanting to buy it, but it's quite a heavy purchase, isn't it? And
it is.
You need the commitment to, like, let's play this for a couple of months and do a proper campaign. And my game group has got so many gamers who buy games regularly that getting a game to the table more than once is quite difficult. So.
That's nice. I was wondering when it's possibly come up in BoardGameHour. There's obviously a big investment these days in buying all the different board games, especially when we mention heavy hitters like Descent and things. Is BoardGameHour, has they come up with any suggestions on how to help that, or is that something we could maybe ask BoardGameHour in a little while?
Yeah, I mean, what, to try and get past the cult of the new, you mean, sort of try and encourage it? I mean, there is a thing that's happening at the moment on Twitter. It's a bit of a slow burning thing, but there's the 10 by 10 challenge, which is the idea is to try and play 10 games 10 times in 1 year.
Oh.
So you sort of it's an artificial challenge that if you sort of like I'm trying to do at the moment, and lots of the other people doing BoardGameHour are doing as well, which is it's just an artificial way of going. Actually, we should play some of these games we really like more often. And there's nothing wrong with new games, but I mean, we played Star Trek Catan last week, which is just awesome, and it's it's a game from like the early 1990s.
Yeah.
Oh no, well, Star Trek Catan isn't, but Catan.
But Catan, the wood for sheep.
Yeah, I've got wood for sheep. Everyone loves that.
Yeah.
I need that on a T-shirt, but I haven't got that yet. Yeah, and it was an awesome game, and it was one of those games where I had to go to my group like, do you fancy playing Catan? And they were all a bit like, God, I haven't played Catan for years, and we rolled it out and we had a great time. It was actually almost more fun to go back and play a game that we actually knew the rules for straight away, and I find that quite a lot. I play King of Tokyo with my family.
Oh yes. Almost
every time we go there, because it's just like you can bust it out and you can play it for a quarter of an hour and then play again and then play again and then go, right, let's play something new.
King of Tokyo is great fun. I really do love it. Absolutely love it. It's like one of the kind of games that I think my daughter, when I eventually get her into, she's going to be like, yes, I will destroy you. And,
yeah, my son's only 2 at the moment, so I've got a few more years to start accumulating the games that I'm going to play with him. Sorry if you can hear my dog barking.
He's very excited. Does he want to play Catan too?
Yeah, I think he actually has an agenda to get on any interview that I do. Because he sits there and doesn't bark all day, and then as soon as I'm on an interview, he starts barking. So. But yeah, no. So board games are great for kids, aren't they? I mean, it's another sort of reason to get into them. Something like King of Tokyo it's just fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just daft fun.
Yeah. And, if you like King of Tokyo, there's places to go from there, aren't there? Because, I mean, Seasons, which is the game I mentioned earlier, is almost King of Tokyo with an extra layer on top. Oh, silly dog.
Silly dog. Well, we've been talking for a little while now. It's been great to hear all about BoardGameHour and just to have a bit of a geek out with all the games. Remind us once more when BoardGameHour is and what this week's, tomorrow, Monday the 24th, the topic is then.
Yeah, so BoardGameHour, if you just go onto Twitter and search @BoardGameHour, you'll find it. If you're interested, then you can use the hashtag BoardGameHour between 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock on GMT on a Monday. There are different sort of programs that you can use to make it easier, because when you do take part, if you use the Twitter search facility, because there's so many people taking part, it will churn quite quickly through, and you'll find it quite hard to follow the conversation. So I use a website called Nerf, but there are lots of them. If you just type in Twitter chat, it basically creates a chat room out of Twitter. So you can sign in, and then it will put the hashtag in automatically for you and things like that, because when you're in the middle of a conversation, if you have to remember to type in hashtag BoardGameHour, you will quite often forget when you get excited about the conversation. So, and this week we do a vote every week. So if you follow my account, then you can join in with the voting. But this week we're talking about board game conventions. So that's, the topic every week can be anything from like sci-fi games or two-player games, or the size of board games, or board game art, all sorts of topics. But yeah, this week it's conventions, and then next week, the week after that, on the 31st, is the Geek and Sundry takeover, so that'll be quite interesting as well.
That sounds awesome. We will be there with bells on.
Well, I should hope so.
103.2 Preston FM.
Your community.
Your radio.